Switzerland was a good team, tough to beat. So first real test, and something obviously that Germany, will now face more.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got to hand it to Switzerland. Their defense is a real plus.
Yeah, absolutely. It was tough to break it down.
Oh, no, you're not telling me.
I know. I missed it. I missed it. No, can you believe it?
Let's go. Welcome to the Player Manager Podcast. I'm Zealand Shannon here with my teammate in the pod and in life, as always, the Tony Cruz of South Florida, Julian Gressel.
Hello, Mr. Zealand. How are you?
I'm not great. I'm going to answer that question honestly. I am incredibly sick. But like life in general, things are going pretty well. I had a great sandwich for lunch today, but definitely super sick. So hanging on by a thread. Hopefully you're doing better than that.
I am not sick, thankfully. Yes. First of all, I hope you feel better soon. And I guess this is your flu game then, right? This episode. Yeah.
Yeah. This episode is my flu game. So, make sure to leave a comment or whatever about if I was able to deliver it or if you missed it, if I missed any of the mute buttons trying to get a cough in or something. But if you're already a listener of this podcast and you haven't told a friend about it, this flu game performance will probably bring you around, and then you can be forced to subscribe on whatever platform you happen to be listening to us from. Thank you so much for joining us for, I forgot what episode we're on now, but coming up today, Julian and Inter Miami continue to prove the critics wrong and win without Leo Messi and a whole cast of other team members. The U.S. men's national team doing the same thing, off to a solid start in Copa America, taking on the world's most famous isthmus. I was afraid of this. I wanted to try and say the word, but I can't say it. Isthmus, the world's most famous isthmus. Panama. You know who I'm talking about. And we'll also, as always, get to a fan question at the end. But first, the Euros, near and dear to old Julian Gressel's heart, and honestly, near and dear to mine as well, because I've obsessively watched nearly every match. They are approaching the round of 16, and the drama is off the charts, starting with Germany, obviously. And they just happened to fuel Krug their way to the top of the group. So you got to be happy with that.
Look at that. Look at that wordplay you did there. No, yeah, it was a little bit of a nervy game, I want to say, but obviously feels good to kind of show that you can kind of come back and have a late little equalizer there for them to be top of the group and go through. And yeah, certainly the vibes are good. Having it in Germany, you can sense the energy. You can see whenever they do those little flashes to the fan fests or whatever. And I see like TV numbers as well. There's like a lot of people in front of the TVs watching these games. So you can sense the energy and hopefully now with the knockouts obviously coming, there's a few days in between Germany games now, but the country is excited and we'll hopefully get to keep living this a little bit longer. But I want to add something. It's episode 15 already, by the way.
Oh, I love that. It's amazing that somehow I feel like it hasn't been 15, and I also feel like it's been 300. Do you know what I mean? I feel like I'm somewhere in there. I want to send my apologies because they're not going to get any love the rest of the time we spend talking about this game to Switzerland. I was not familiar with their game. I always make fun of Switzerland for being the team that loses to every team they're worse than and beats every team they're better than. They looked really, really good in this game. This tournament is deep, and those middling teams nobody pays attention to. And I'm really also just they've been playing really well, and I'm thankful that somebody in this group gave Germany a game because I said it was going to be a tough group, and it didn't look like it for the first couple.
Yeah, it's something that these Euros are exciting. I think we've talked about it in the preview episode. I think this was 2 episodes ago, maybe, where you can go down the list and it's so hard to kind of pick where these teams are stacked. They're high quality players in every team. And Switzerland obviously showed that in their game and everything. So it's just an exciting time. I think exciting tournament, and to have that coupled obviously with the Copa America is insane. And to kind of have now matches every single day, all day long is just it's almost too much.
It is. It is actually too much because I fell into this sickness and I felt like I started missing matches, like I was somehow falling behind. Like I'd barely been keeping up with my homework almost, and then all of a sudden I miss a couple matches. People are talking about all this stuff on the internet. I don't know what happened. I missed it. I'm sorry. But I did get to, while I was in a hotel in London, fire up BBC One on the TV and watch Hungary and Scotland. And this is going on at the same time as Germany and Switzerland. And it was one of the most interesting matches I've ever watched because it felt like it started in the 90th minute. And I'm very
Yeah.
curious to pick your brain on this philosophy, right? Because going into this match, basically, both teams needed to win, which turned into both teams were really afraid to give up a goal for
Yeah.
most of the match and then spent the last 10 minutes just sending it. I mean, because there were 10 minutes of stoppage time because of a really awful concussion that happened during the match. And then they just started to send it. You've got to go for it earlier than that, right? But if you're on the field in a team in that type of position, do you ever get frustrated with what the coach is trying to tell you to do in that spot, or are you on the field thinking like, okay, we're going to be able to take it to him, but not yet?
I don't know. I think it's almost a game of chicken a little bit. So like you want to open up and
Ah,
you want to get after it a bit more, but you don't want to be too exposed to then have something happen on your end and have regrets, right? That's kind of what I would go to, is just not having any regrets afterwards. And if you feel like you can keep a zero, you can maybe get a one or two chances in the end. That is probably the strategy I would like as a player too, because those knockout games, I mean, I've been in them in the playoffs here. They're intense, and you don't want to make the mistake. You don't want to give up a goal, and you don't want to fall behind, because then it's so much harder to come back. And that's why I feel like it kind of makes sense, to have it play out that way. Was there any crazy Scottish fans though in London where you were,
oh yeah. I
or
mean,
is that
of
just in
course.
Germany?
Like, no, there was it was all the pubs and everything. Now, I was, of course, carrying the bubonic plague, so I wasn't going outside. But I spent the entirety of that day in my hotel room. But I was supposed to meet up with some friends to go to a pub to watch the game. And despite the historic rivalry, the English in London were really rooting for Scotland. But then once, of course, Scotland loses, then they start making fun of Scotland again. So that's kind of, like they hope it
Yeah.
goes well, but then once they lose, you're like, well, yes, you guys always sucked anyways, right? And what happened was the game opens up, and all of a sudden, everybody on both teams is in the opposite half that they're supposed to be. And Hungary catches this last second counterattack.
Yeah.
Now, you see this happen all of the times in these sorts of desperate situations. Can you explain the feeling as a player? Because you feel helpless when you're a fan, right? You feel a sense of impending doom. If you're Scottish, you're watching this, it's like, oh, it's a 4-on-2 all of a sudden. If you're a player and you have a corner that everybody's up for, and then it gets cleared, and you just see the other team going the other direction, what is that feeling like? Right?
It's not a great feeling. It's definitely a feeling that you're like, first of all, why are we so wide open in this moment, right? And then what is happening that we can't stop this counter or can't stop this train running right towards our goal? So there's definitely a sense of like, what the hell is going on? And then I mean, if you're in somewhat of a position to try and make it back, you just give it all you got, and you just try and run, especially in that moment. I mean, because if the goal goes in and you're out, and but it's not a great feeling when you see that kind of happening, and you just kind of say to yourself, please don't score, please don't score, please don't score. So these moments aren't much fun.
But then you got the kind of the positive effect of this, where Switzerland's packing it in late, and then I already mentioned it was Füllkrug that heads the ball home.
Yeah.
Did you get to watch that live? Were you able to flip that kind of? Because if you are Hungarian in that situation, it's elation. I mean, the limbs when Hungary
Yeah.
scored were incredible, and obviously the same with Germany. Like, were you part of the limbs?
Yeah, I was happy. I think my daughter had just woken up, so it was her kind of good luck that gave us that goal.
Ah, yeah.
But yeah, no, it was a good moment. My mom is here in town at the moment as well, and my stepdad. So we were watching all together, and you kind of have a little bit of a sense of camaraderie. I'm not just watching by myself, quiet in the house. It's actually like an actual little watch party. So we were into it, and then when you score, feels good, and you jump, and you see the energy in the stadium, you see the energy in the fans and the team, obviously, as well. Um, Great for Phil Krug, who comes in, has a great, I think, goal to minutes ratio now for the national
Oh,
team.
it's like one every 52 minutes or something.
Yeah, so it's nice to see guys coming off the bench, even with assists from David Raum, and it's good to kind of have that energy, and hopefully a little boost that gets you through the knockouts. And but yeah, Switzerland was a good team. Tough to beat. So first real test, and something obviously that Germany will now face more.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got to hand it to Switzerland. Their defense is a real plus.
Yeah, absolutely. It was tough to break it down. And
Oh
another,
no, you're not
I
telling. You're
know,
not
I
telling me.
missed it. I missed it. No,
Let's
can you believe
go.
it?
Let's go. I don't know how I was determined to slip that through. Thank you
Oh
for
man,
playing along. Okay, but
the listeners probably have no idea what's going on.
yeah, just think of Switzerland's flag if you want to unpack your dad joke of the day right there. But I'm so fascinated by Fuelkrug because if you'd asked me who Fuelkrug was 4 years ago, I would have had absolutely no. 3 years ago, I would have had
Same,
absolutely no idea.
same.
So these types of players, I guess he would be the German Jamie Vardy in a lot of ways, right? But these types of players that emerge really late in your career or really late in their career. What I'm always thinking is there's either two versions of this. They either just get really hot, right? And some people are just real lucky, or they were just unrecognized in what they were capable of doing for a long time. So it's an indictment of the coaches. But from a player's perspective, what do you think causes a player like Fuelkrug? Because what is very clear is that the guy can't stop scoring at the very highest levels of the game all of a sudden, when 3 years ago he was in the second league.
Yeah, I mean it's certainly an interesting phenomenon in a sense, right? Where if you look at the other German big time striker that we had years before was Miroslav Klose, who was similar, who didn't turn pro until he was like 22 or 23 or
I
something.
did not know that. Fuelkrug's
So
way older than that. I think he's like 29, maybe
yeah, so it's something I don't know that.
31. Sorry, he's 31.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe it's just, I think it's a combination of things, right? A combination of maybe playing to his strength, where teams really find, and kind of play. I mean, he's a box striker, right? He's not a guy that comes to link up play. Like he's exactly that. He needs service, finishes the ball really well. And it's a developmental thing as well, where maybe it just took him a few extra years to kind of get used to second Bundesliga, first Bundesliga, and once it clicks, then it's like, all right, here we go. It's kind of like letting loose. So in a sense, I think it's a combination of all of that. It's certainly nice to see, because I feel like I'm one of those guys that I wasn't the most talented at 16 and 17 and 18, and that's when I was kind of told that I'm not good enough, and then you kind of go through it, and with 21, I made the jump to the pros, and I immediately kind of find my footing, and kind of go, obviously not at that national team level, but at MLS level, and have a career from there on. So I'm kind of happy that that happens at times, because I feel like I'm certainly part of that.
So you think it's really it's a case of a lot of people, maybe their development kind of stagnates at 23 or 24, but somebody like Fuelkrug or yourself, that improvement just kind of continues, or at least that belief in that improvement continues.
Yeah, it's just delayed, yeah, a little bit, and that I think is something beautiful in a sense, right? Where you never old, you're never too old, right, for things. If you turn it back to life, like you're never too old to do whatever you want to do, and in that sense, if you're being told from one or two guys at 20 or 18 or 19 that you're not good enough, well, just kind of keep working hard and keep doing your thing. And then, maybe there's a guy or two that believe in you down the road that will give you the chance. And then if you take those chances, you got to be there and you got to show it, right? But it's certainly good to see. So maybe your goalkeeper career is not fully over yet, and you maybe very, very late bloomer for that one.
No, look, I held out belief on that for a very long time. I always imagined myself that if I just moved to England, I could start playing in the sixth division, and then all of a sudden I would kind of Matt Turner my way into the national team, But there was the Matt Turner was there to Matt Turner his way into the national team, and I was not. So
Yeah,
I'm happy. I'm happy being on the managing side of things. It's okay. You can eat whatever you want when you're in my chair. So
that's right. You can fly to London in the middle of season to have some fun, or fly to the Euros and watch them.
true.
Fly to Berlin next week, so that'll be exciting for you.
Oh,
I'm jealous of that.
Well, it's gonna be great. No, I've never been to Berlin, and I forgot to ask. Do you have any recommendations for me going to Berlin? Anything I need to try?
Well, this is a funny story because I've actually never been to Berlin myself.
Oh, don't tell me you've never been to Berlin.
It's funny, but I'm from Germany, and so I grew up near Nuremberg, which is like it's a bigger town, but it's 2 hours north of Munich, so far south,
Yeah.
in a sense. So whenever we would do vacations or anything like that, we would always go south. So we'd always go to Austria or Italy, and never really like do like the northern Germany. It would either be very north in the like near the ocean, near Denmark almost, but never like the cities. It's funny. And then when I was 18, 19, I left. So I haven't really been
That's
that
funny.
much back. So no recommendations for me for Berlin, unfortunately.
Well, that's hey. Well, if I ever go to Nuremberg or Austria
Mm.
or Italy again, I'm sure I'll be sure to ask. But it just always blows my mind. I don't know if it's just because living in the United States, I used to drive 12 hours for a weekend of work somewhere when I was doing sports broadcasting. I'd drive 12 hours, call games for the weekend, and drive back. But I was hanging out with somebody when I was in London. This thing that it was in London for, and he was talking like, oh yeah, I'm going over to Germany for the quarterfinal. It's going to be awesome. We're talking about what we're going to do the
Yeah.
next couple of weeks. And he's lived in England his whole life. Goes, I've never been to Germany. I'm like, dude, it's
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 an
what
hour
an
flight. Yeah.
hour long flight away,
Yeah.
and it's an hour long flight from Tampa to Miami.
Yeah.
Come on, go. There's a whole other. I mean, Oktoberfest, Wiener Schnitzel. Like, what do you want?
Yeah.
Beer? Like, I don't know. I guess they have beer in England. Maybe I'm overreacting, but it just blows my mind as everything's so close. Anytime somebody says they haven't been somewhere.
Yeah. It's funny, but it's also cool because you have so many different cultures in such a short amount of time that you can reach, right? Like that's what makes Europe so special. I think, and Germany itself is actually located really, really nicely, kind of right in the middle of it all. So you can go, south, east to west, obviously very quickly. You're in a lot of different countries there. So it's in a way the perfect tournament Euro host, right? If you want to
No, it
say
is.
that.
And then in the atmosphere at the actual tournament, obviously you've talked about the German fan perspective, but the atmosphere at the actual tournament's been just sensational. I mean, just it feels like a return to what major international tournaments really should look and feel like. I mean, from the Dutch fans doing the whole
Yeah.
bouncing back and forth in the street thing to the Scottish fans just wearing kilts and drinking. I don't like with the
Yeah.
bagpipes and everything. Like the atmosphere and all of the different reports of the atmosphere have been great. Now, obviously, there've been a couple of bad incidents, but by and large, it's just so vibrant. And I guess it's because everybody's just taking the train there.
Do you feel like it's so much better than what it was in Qatar?
Yeah, I
Right.
got into this debate on Twitter where there's a lot of directions that people feel like that people have this conversation played out in their head already. So like if you just mention, "Oh, I think the Euros in Germany is better than Qatar," then they're going to assume they're going to assume your reasons why, and then just start to
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
from it's the world's game, like it doesn't have to be in Europe for it to be great, well, there have been some incidents which I will always indict because they're always incredibly stupid of some roving band of idiots just tossing a bunch of patio furniture across a city square or something, like that sort of stuff, right? Where they'll point at that and go like, well, that didn't happen in Qatar, right? But the point to me boils down to you got Germany hosting a tournament like this. Well, no matter what country you're from, whether it be Hungary or Serbia or Croatia or Portugal or like all of the countries that or Georgia, like all of the countries that could like potentially qualify for the tournament, which politically and culturally or whatever may have severe disagreements with each other.
Yeah.
All of those fans feel comfortable to go and celebrate in Germany. And
Yeah.
by and large, all of those fans are being respectful and having an absolutely fantastic time. And the atmosphere at the games has been unbelievable. In some of these matches. I mean, the one that gets all the attention is the Turkey Georgia match. There was something special in the air. I felt
Yeah.
like I was watching the 1978 World Cup final. There was rain and smoke, and the field sucked because there was a monsoon going on, and it was just this cacophony of noise, and you felt like the players were just playing at 110% the whole time as a result of that. In the Qatar World Cup, you just had this situation where a lot of the countries that qualified, a lot of the people that would normally go didn't feel comfortable going. Right. And you can
Yeah.
debate the reasons why, but that was very true. And then in Qatar, which is, confirmed as being very image obsessed when it comes. I mean, every country is very image obsessed, right? Qatar definitely has certain directions that it goes with trying to maintain its image, like hiring fans, right? And to an incredibly obvious extent, hiring
Yes.
fans to be a part of the atmosphere, quote unquote, at the World Cup, because they understandably didn't want to have half empty stadiums for these matches. So when I'm talking about the fact that this Euros feels like a return to this natural feel of a
Yes.
tournament.
Yeah.
Like in people that are saying, well, I'm not over here saying it has to be in Europe. The South Africa tournament to me felt that way. I mean,
Yeah.
granted, I was a little younger. I probably wasn't looking at it through as critical a lens as I am now, but there's just this natural happiness and enthusiasm that just runs through a tournament's veins, and that just seems back in a way that when you have a lot of fan bases that aren't comfortable going to a place and a bunch of fake fans hired to fill their place, you don't get that same feeling.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree, and I'm so happy that it is in Germany.
Yeah. Well, that's it's
Be-
all to have it in your home country is just
yeah.
that's just cool too.
Yeah, because I also think that the German people kind of needed this, and there's so much going on always politically and socially, and that just like it's just you just put everything on pause and you kind of reset, and it's like this feeling of togetherness and celebration and embracing of the game, of the love for the game of soccer, like scenes like where I think the Albania fans were breaking the pasta in front of the Italy fans, or
Yeah,
something like
yeah,
that. Those types of scenes are in the streets. They're like celebrating together. They go in at each other a little bit, but it's all, I think, in good spirits and just a fun time. And obviously the Scottish fans when they took over Munich, and like all these moments is, Scotland didn't do so well on the field, but at least
yeah.
their fans had an unbelievable time, and probably those people will never forget the time that they had celebrating in Germany, even though the team didn't do well. But and I really hope that this can kind of continue for the next 2 more weeks, three
Well, that
more
was
weeks.
to me the most interesting thing, and one of the things I kind of had to learn when I was learning soccer and football is something that's really reflected in these tournaments, and that's that the vast majority of the teams that go to these tournaments have no chance at winning
Yeah,
the tournament. And so in every way it is about celebrating making it there, and it's about celebrating being a part of it. Like even, I'm looking at the 2026 World Cup. You simulate that 100 times on FIFA or Football Manager. The US is going to win it like maybe once. I mean
yeah,
it would be insane if it happened, and you're obviously going to be sad if the US loses and happy if the US wins, but you're also there because it's your team being there. It's the experience in itself, just being able to enjoy. Like Scotland's never going to win the Euros, they're never going to win the World Cup, and most of the time they're not even going to be there. So when they get to go there, bring the party, have a damn
yeah.
good time, because that's what it's all about.
I completely agree, and I really hope you get to enjoy that, and you get to kind of feel that while you're on the ground, and have some tuna pizza, have some döner,
Some tuna
and
fish pizza, yeah.
yeah, tuna fish pizza and some döner, and enjoy your time in Berlin.
I will. I'll report back. I'll let you know how your capital is. It just since you've never been,
Yeah,
unbelievable.
you can give me tips after that when I go there.
Yeah, I will. We'll reverse the roles. I'll try. I'll work on my Duolingo. I'll try and give them to you in German so we can really complete the immersion switch here. But the rest of the Euros things that have happened, I just want to point out because I think it's a funny stat that everybody listening should know. Croatia is in danger of not qualifying after drawing Italy. Croatia has 2 points in both of those draws. First, against Albania, Croatia conceded the latest equalizing goal in the history of the Euros, which was like 94th, 95th minute. And then in their second draw against Italy, they conceded the new latest equalizing goal in Euros history in the 98th minute to Italy. Is there any possible logical explanation to how that happens? Because it's taken Croatia. If the matches ended after 90 minutes, Croatia would have 6 points and be top of the group. Almost. They would definitely have qualified for the next round. Instead, they have 2 points. How the hell does that happen?
It's the beautiful game that we so much love, right? It's just funny. I mean, I honestly don't know. Are those guys like maybe tired, not fit enough to go 90 minutes, mentally
I,
fatigued to have moments? I don't know. I don't like analyze the game in that way, right? Where if it was happening to us at an MLS like weekly thing where like yeah, it's a theme for us, for example, to give up early goals or fall behind 1-0. Like, do we have to work on that? Yes. What plays into that? You try and come up with reasons and figure it out. But a tournament like that is so quick where now it's over for them. And now they don't have a chance to kind of figure it out, right? It just everything needs to be buttoned up. So it's definitely yeah, just a weird situation and something that if I were the player on that team, I'd be like, man, what could I have done to stop that? And then like how can we give up these late goals? Like, what is that? That we're so much better than that. We have so much more experience, right? I talked about them as my dark horse because they have so much tournament experience, and then they don't show it in those heightened moments, the first 5 minutes, the last 5 minutes, extra time, like those moments, first 5 minutes of a half, last 5 minutes of a half, first 5 minutes after a goal, before a goal, like those things are crucial times in the game, and then to not have that type of mentality to close out the game or to finish it out, ultimately you pay the price and you go home.
and yeah, unless I think the scenarios they need three results to go the way, win, loss, or draw. They need three different results to go their way. Croatia could still make it through, and then that would be very Portugal-esque of them to go on and win the whole thing. But I was also just I mean, come on, it's Croatia. They win in the margins. Croatia doesn't blow teams out. They just beat you because they do the little things better. So for them to be the one that's blowing it just shows you that it can happen to anybody. Which brings us to, we're recording this like midday Tuesday because of my crippling illness. We're getting it in earlier in the day so that I am going to be able to go to sleep earlier, which I really appreciate from you guys. But
You're welcome.
that means we also don't know exactly what the Euros results are from England, Slovenia, Denmark, Serbia. So we'll just leave it with France, Poland, Netherlands, Austria, which I don't know if you had a chance to catch those games this morning. They were absolutely absurd. We'll start with Poland and France because there is an instant in there that I just really want to ask a player about. Because me as a goalkeeper, I have a former goalkeeper. God, I got to stress that. I have some very strong opinions. Did you see Robert Lewandowski's penalty kick this morning? And
So
if
I actually did not, because we had another Asado from the Inter Miami team, so we didn't. We
you had an
didn't. We had it
Asado.
on a little bit, but we were just kind of like hanging out and talking.
That's
So
fine. I'll send it to you, and then our editors will make an excellent, brilliant edit so we can talk about it. But before I do that, what'd you get in the? What is an asado for the uninitiated?
well, it's basically like a big grill cookout barbecue.
I knew that,
Or
obviously.
so every Sunday, I guess in Argentina, usually the whole family gets together and they do that. We do it once a month at the club, and yeah, I mean, there's all types of sausages, all types of meats. I got some grilled octopus as a grilled fish, since I own
Oh,
since I don't eat meat and I only
oh.
eat fish, so it was yeah, it was delicious. It's always good. It's a good time for us to hang out and spend some time, after training. Yeah, just hang out a little bit of extra. So it was good.
So you've now seen the Lewandowski run up, and just for the uninitiated, he pauses twice. Obviously, if you follow us on Instagram, which if you don't, how dare you? You'll probably see a clip of this where it'll be an actual video, and you can see how great my hair looks unbrushed and how perfect Julian Gressel's always looks, amongst other things. But you'll see his run up. He pauses twice, basically pauses, and then shoots. Minen, the keeper for France, saves it. VAR brings it back for Minen being a fraction of an inch off of the line, and then he scores the second one. I hate these run ups and think they should be removed from the game. The rule is if you stop your progress towards the ball fully, then it's invalid. But apparently, this didn't meet that rule. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I don't like it either. I think it's something that should be changed as well. I think it's a way Lewandowski is trying to leverage, I guess, and get the keeper to move early. So in case he misses, like he did, that it would get retaken, and it happened in that instance where then he goes on and scores. Did he do it on the second one as well? Same type of
I
run up.
actually, I actually was still asleep because
Okay.
of the illness, so I watched. I watched the extended. No, he didn't. I don't think he did.
Okay. Yeah. So it's
I
something
watched the
that's
extended highlights, but that would have been in there.
I don't love that. I think it should be one continuous run. Once you start running, you should continue to run, and maybe at the end you can do like a stutter step, but a complete like this is very close to completely coming to a stop. And he almost goes backwards, where he takes a little hop backwards and then kind of proceeds to shoot. It's like, I don't know. It's something like it's already such an advantage for the taker, I think, to just have this in the first place. So, I guess he's playing it within the rules, so credit to him. But at the same time, I feel like the rules
Oh no,
should
he
change.
did it even worse the second time, dude.
Yeah.
It was even more egregious and over the top, and he shoots it to the exact same spot. But it's just, I don't. The problem is, you have to draw the line somewhere, and having the line be at complete stop makes sense. But it just feels. I mean, just shoot the ball.
Yeah.
Just run up and shoot the ball. Like that should be the rule. And if you do any of this funny business, any Jorginho nonsense, then get it out of here. The
that's
whole point of a penalty kick is you're just taking a shot. It's not
that's right.
supposed to be a skill. Like, I don't know. That's
That's
just,
what.
it's just my feeling.
Yeah, that's what I think. I completely agree. I think it's something that it also like it could also throw off his own teammates, right? That are trying to come in and run for the rebound, that would then get thrown off. And like it has multiple indications of like, if we don't practice that, or I don't see him practice it that way, I would run in there thinking he would just run in and kind of run up and take the penalty, right? So it's like something that kind of goes both ways. But yeah, I don't know. There's too much going on in there that I don't like.
Yeah, no, it's just annoying. And that goal specifically takes France from first to second in the group, which means that I believe France, Germany, Portugal, Netherlands are all going to end up on the same side of the draw.
Yeah,
So that goal
it'll be.
directly hurts you guys because
Oh,
Austria has now won the group.
yeah, unbelievable performances from them. I mean, they've been playing really well. Ralph Rangnick declined the Bayern Munich job for a reason, I guess, and he's doing really well with Austria. So for
Yeah.
them to be first in the group, after a really really entertaining game, I think obviously 3-2 against Netherlands. So something to look out for in the knockouts is certainly Austria, that have some belief, I feel like, now.
Yeah, everybody's always looking for their dark horse going into the knockouts. Why not Austria? You win a group with France and the Netherlands in it. Why not believe? And that's just a baller move from Ralph Ragnick to turn down the Bayern job after flaming out at United, and then he's like, I know what I've got. I've
Yeah.
got 35-year-old Marco Arnautovic and a couple of other dudes, and we are gonna tear up this Euros. But of course, Copa America is also going on, and the United States opened play with a 2-0 win over Bolivia. That, according to my viewing and my stat tracking, conservatively, the score could have been about 7-0 if chances had gone the United States way or anything else. But we had Matt Turner on the podcast a couple of weeks ago talking about, well, you got to take it one game at a time and stay focused and deliver. And I'll be honest, I think they did all those things. I'm noted as not being a huge Greg fan, but if Greg has the team plan like this, I have no qualms at all.
Yeah, felt good. Felt good to get off to a good start. Obviously, started off early with Pulisic and kind of his great goal,
Oh,
where
that was a
that
banger.
yeah, that lifts up the whole energy and lifts up the whole team. And yeah, they played well. Did the job. That was really the obviously the result that you needed against Bolivia. Maybe the one of the not so great teams in this tournament. So that certainly was to be expected, to have a performance like that. But you can see that they were able to control the possession, able to control their moments of transition. Their obviously attacking threats in general, where they didn't give up really any chances. And like you said, the score should have been, or maybe could have been, a lot higher. And but yeah, again, it's just a little first step, and now the big games are coming up. Obviously, they'll face Panama on Thursday, and then Luis Suarez and Uruguay, who didn't play actually for Uruguay at all. I was a bit surprised, but they'll play them on Monday. So yeah, it'll be. I think now is the time that the tournament starts. And
Yeah, yeah.
this was a good first game. But do you have any big takeaways from that? No.
No, I think it's one of those things where if the U.S. wins, you just look at it and go, All right, that's what they were supposed to do. If anything other than a comfortable U.S. victory had happened, then the wheels would have started wobbling and everybody would have felt a little shaky about it. But
Yeah,
but my main takeaway, honestly, was the U.S. playing with confidence, but mostly Bolivia just not very good, and
yeah,
it really really surprised me because when you're playing against that South American competition so consistently, I feel like Bolivia is really kind of hitting a low point. They have made one World Cup before. It was a while ago. Most of this national team plays in the Bolivian league, which, like, I'm not keeping up with the exact level of the Bolivian league here, but the Copa Libertadores and stuff doesn't exactly have any Bolivian teams participating in the later stages. So Bolivia really, I think it kind of highlights the ease that the group was drawn into because they, like, having watched that entire game, they just did not look, it didn't look for 1 second. Like, I'll say this, I didn't think Scotland was great at this tournament, but there were moments where it looked
yeah,
like Scotland can win the games they were playing. There was not a second of the game between US Bolivia that it looked like anything other than a US win was happening. I mean, even the 3 minutes before Pulisic's goal, the US was all over them. It
yeah,
was, shot, corner, goal. They would just, it would, the field was tilted. Like, they always play at high elevation in Bolivia. Well, I think they accidentally built it on the wrong side of the mountain and they were on the downhill side. Like, the ball was just rolling towards their goal the entire game. It was a tough watch, but the US absolutely delivered. It won't hurt. And momentum in these types of tournaments, correct me if I'm wrong, can be huge. So just dominating like that can just launch you forward.
yeah, absolutely, for sure. And I think you saw that with Germany in their first game at the Euros, where then they dominate and they go on to win the second game comfortably as well. And it doesn't mean that there won't be any roadblocks. And like I said, I think this was just the first step, and they'll have to certainly, showcase that again against Panama. You expect them to win against Panama again, and but they're a better team. So we'll see how. Obviously, I think we'll learn a lot more from the U.S. and what they're going to be like over this next week or so from how this Panama game starts, and then how they can hopefully carry that performance. That type of being on the front foot, kind of suffocating the opponent and not letting them breathe in a sense, and be able to create chances, all those types of things of on Thursday when they face Panama.
And Copa America is still kind of revving up. Most results have gone normally. Venezuela with a 2-1 win over Ecuador. Costa Rica CONCACAFing its way to a 0-0 with Brazil, which,
Yeah,
shout out to the CONCACAF brethren. Mexico beating Jamaica. But the tournament's still kind of revving up. So we'll get to Inter Miami now, mainly because there was something really, really cool that happened for you. Not this past weekend, but before that, against Columbus. And the Columbus crew came to town and they brought you. You mentioned this, I think, before on the podcast, but they brought you a gift that, in my opinion, is long overdue.
yeah, it was just the first time they had a chance to bring it, so it was nice of them to do it in person because they wanted to obviously show me some love on social media as well and kind of present it to me, not just send it to me in the mail. But the thing you're talking about is, yeah, my MLS Cup ring. I finally have it in my possession. It's nice and shiny. It's very beautiful, and honestly, getting it made me, yeah, reminisce a little bit. It made me think back to the time that I had in Columbus, and I know how we've talked about this on the podcast as well, about how tough it was at times for me mentally, and how much of a challenge it was off the field with all the moves and all these types of things. And all of that is kind of captured within that ring, right? That's like a symbol for that. So it carries a lot more than just what it has, what's written on it, and all those things. But so the sentimental value, I guess, is much higher. But it's certainly a cool ring and nice and shiny, and yeah, love it. I love
Wait,
it.
I mean, you got two of them now. Is one shinier than the other? How does the fashion line up?
I have to dig out the Atlanta one at some point. I don't actually like have it out just like in the house somewhere. I have it stored in a box because of all the moves, I guess. But I actually have to dig it up. But I'm pretty sure the Columbus one, usually they get better, a little bit better every year.
Mm.
So we're now 3, 4 years, or wait, how long? 2018 to 2023. So 5 years later, where, yeah, I mean, they're both really nice, and they'll look pretty cool when you wear them both together. which I haven't done, but I will at some
Start
point.
showing up to team dinners with
Yeah.
with Messi and co, and just start flashing the double ring like you guys don't know what it's about. It's an MLS.
Oh, when I got it, it was before the game because they were like, okay, we want to give it to you before the game so that emotions aren't too high afterwards, and we can just kind of focus on the game after. So I walked into the locker room with it afterwards, or after I got it, so just before the game, and some guys came over and looked at it, and then Busquets looked at it, and I asked him, I was like, "Do you get something in Spain when you win, or for like the World Cup or something?" He's like, "No, nothing like this. You get little trophies or something like the replica trophies, but nothing crazy like this." So I was like, "All right, I'll take that."
I didn't know that. Like you win the World Cup, which Busquets has won. You don't get a championship ring. You get a little. I'm envisioning those plastic $5 replica trophies that you get.
No,
I believe you win that.
it's probably more than that, but the World Cup might be different. But I think in Spain, he said for the championship they get like something small, a small trophy or something. But I mean, I think it's just an American thing. Rings, it's just all
I
about the U.S. Yeah,
I'd never thought about it that way before, but I guess considering everything else seems to just be an American thing when it comes to sports most of the time, I shouldn't be surprised that the championship gift is. I wonder how that started. Was it Super Bowl rings? I don't know. This is going to be a rabbit hole I fall down at 2 a.m. on Wikipedia in the future, so I look forward to that. But congratulations on the ring. And then, if the ring wasn't enough, you then humbled Columbus, right? Made them regret not re-signing you in the first place because you set up both goals in what was a 2-1 win against the defending champs.
Julian Gressel and the finish in front. Inter Miami with a 1-0 lead, and welcome back to Major League Soccer, Ian Frey, the comeback kid.
With those 2 assists against them, an impressive win, and the team kind of cooking without a lot of important players.
Yeah, definitely. It was honestly that whole game. We obviously had 2 red card suspensions as well from the Philadelphia game before. So it was a game where we were stretched thin for sure, and I was knowing how they play and knowing what type of team that they had. I was, not gonna lie, I was a bit worried going into the game, and that's why it really felt good to, for me, obviously have a good game as well, and I would be lying if I said there wasn't a little bit of extra motivation to kind of show that I would have been worth it to re-sign there in Columbus, and kind of yeah, it was certainly a good feeling. But the 2 assists, yeah, I feel good. Add them to the tally this year, and certainly a good win for us. One that I didn't expect, and one that I felt really really good about afterwards. Because I just know what a good team Columbus is. But it was also really good to see some of the guys on Columbus, and play against them was hard. It was difficult to play against a good team like that with a clear style and possession based, where you have to defend a lot, you have to be scrappy, you have to be really really clued in tactically, and everybody just has to do a job. And we bent, but we didn't really break, and that's something that we'll take away from that win. Gives us confidence, gives us belief that we can do it even when we are stretched quite thin. We don't have the quality coming off the bench or whatever. And certainly a good feeling to now take into this upcoming week, where we'll be on the road a whole week. All next week we'll be on the road, I think starting in Nashville, then in Charlotte, and then in Cincinnati. So big week ahead, but something yeah, we feel good about, and we're excited for it. And results like against Columbus certainly help with that.
Yeah, and some talk online that with those 2 assists, you're taking the Lionel Messi role while he's abroad. Care to comment on that?
Well, I did play his position. So, and I feel like we've talked about this a lot too, about earlier in the year, that I know, or I knew that we knew that he was going to be gone at the Copa America. And that I think with the intention was always for me to kind of step into that position. Obviously, I will never be able to fill his shoes or play the
Well,
way
hey, now
he
two
does.
assists. 2 assists is you're
I mean,
almost up to his pace for goal contributions per 90 with that one.
only 3 assists missing. Yeah, pretty good. No, but it's something that I can't, obviously do, and but I can, play the way I play, and that's what I've been trying to do. I feel like I did that pretty effectively against Columbus. Obviously, knowing how they play helped me a lot too, where okay, how can we exploit that? How can I exploit that? How can I prepare my teammates around me to be okay with them having the ball and them, having these large spells of possessions and creating chances, but how can we hurt them then as well in transition like we did? And so it was an overall good performance, from us. I think a good performance from me as well. And just happy to have been able to help the team and able to win the game.
And it was a good win. And you guys are in action against Nashville, I believe, this weekend, one of those physically tough teams you've talked about. So we'll certainly be talking about that on next week's podcast if we're able to swing it. But there was something else that happened in MLS that I wanted to make sure we got your thoughts on. It was this went viral outside of kind of U.S. circles. This is just awesome.
Yes, please, everybody. Yes, everybody, listen first.
This is a referee using the new MLS protocols to announce a VAR decision. That's what this is.
After review, there was no offside offense. However, prior to the goal, there was a foul committed by St. Louis. The final decision is direct free kick.
Okay, now I'll clear the floor. What do you think of this? I thought it was hilarious.
I mean, yes, it's absolutely hilarious. I mean, the pause is the best part, in my opinion. Hey, everybody, quiet. I'm not finished yet. It's something. I know the referee, and I've obviously had him a few times, and he it's totally on brand, I want to say. So it's certainly a cool moment and a way to take VAR announcements to the next level, which makes it a lot more entertaining, I feel like.
No, I mean, look, the guy's name's Philip Dujich, and most referees, I feel like the concern is that public speaking to this extent is often very nerve-wracking, but this guy just seemed to embrace it. He turned the word "however" into this viral moment because people all over the world were saying, like, me getting hit with a "however" in the 95th minute at home against Bayern or something, and then people would be like, they'd be losing their minds if, Mike Dean or whatever dropped a "however" on them in the 95th minute. But I think it's just, this is proof that not all new ideas are bad ideas, because how could you not love this? But I have to imagine if you're a player that you're sitting there like, oh, this is annoying. Like, can we get on with the game, man?
Yeah, what I always say about referees is that whenever they kind of make it about themselves is when they run into trouble, right? They need to be just there to just manage the game and not, have any big moments. But obviously that is his big moment, right? That's probably the moment that he's been waiting for weeks, that he can finally have an announcement in the stadium, right? And so, it is something that ultimately corrected the call. So that's what it's all about. And, the way he went about it was really cool and entertaining, I guess, and made a lot of people smile on the internet and in the MLS circles, and that's fun.
No, I like to think that he went into that announcement not knowing he was going to make that joke, that he just started to say it and realized that the whole crowd was thinking that meant the goal would be allowed. And then his stage presence alone, he was just able to pick up on it and handle his business. We'll see how all of that plays out in MLS over the rest of the season. It is time to get to your questions that have come in. And we've got one picked out today from M. Spilberg on Instagram, which you can follow the Instagram if you are listening to the podcast here. Who are the MVPs of the Inter Miami group chat, and what are the most popular topics?
That's a funny question. I mean, it's honestly, it's very Spanish, I want to say. So I have to make sure I follow along, and I kind of take my time to read through it and, really pick up on everything. But the MVP is probably Cello Weigand. He's kind of come in and kind of lived it up a little bit in there, and livened it up a little bit in there. Yesterday was a big day for that because so today is obviously Tuesday, June 25th. Today's my daughter's first birthday. First of all, shout out to my daughter.
Happy birthday to your daughter. Should have opened the show with that. What are we doing?
I know. First birthday. Incredible how it's already been a year. But and yesterday was Leo Messi's birthday. So the chat was lively yesterday. Obviously everybody wishing him happy birthday, feliz cumpleaños, and A lot of messages even from English speakers in Spanish to Leo, and obviously, where the whole group showed him some love. And I think he got a lot of love from Argentina fans as well outside their hotel where they're staying. I saw that online, but yeah, and then they kind of carried on. It kind of just always carries on in different directions where I don't really know exactly where it's going at times. So my Spanish isn't that great, but Cello has been a really, really funny guy that's come into the locker room and kind of embraced this team and kind of brought his best foot forward, especially in the group chat.
What's one tangent that you recall Cello taking the group chat on? Just one direction that you were able to decipher, obviously, in Spanish.
Honestly, I don't know. There's sometimes so random that I just lose track and I lose sight of kind of what's happening. And then when it gets a little too complex and there's too many guys chirping it at the same time, I'm just like, these would be hard to follow conversations in English, so it's tough for me to follow in Spanish. But all the important messages and all those things, I certainly try and pick up on and kind of get across. But it was a lively day yesterday for sure.
Well, with that and the liveliness of the Inter Miami group chat, we bring this to a close. How about the dedication from the boyos today? We've got Julian recording on his daughter's first birthday, which we'll be sure to get out of this as quickly as possible so you can go back and spend more time with her. I'm dying of the bubonic plague, and Michael had to reschedule as well, which is a huge inconvenience, I'm aware. So we all nailed it today. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. We enjoyed recording it. Please follow us on Twitter as well, Player Manager Pod, and let us know what you think about the episode. See you next time.